Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Star Blast Studios coming here with a brand new figure review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Dragon Ball Super SH Shfiguarts Trunks. So, I initially wanted to do this review a little bit sooner, but with me recently working on Evolved, I actually got this like a week before Evolved was actually uploaded onto my channel. But you know, with Trunks going Super Saiyan Rage, okay, spoiler alert. I wanted to make sure that I had this review out after Evolve, just so people don't get confused and like, well, why did you use this version of Trunks in the freaking video? Like, no, it's just because it's like I had this in the middle of the filming. You know, there was no way I could have the Trunks, so just having this review out a little bit after Evolve just to lessen the confusion. But without further ado, let's take a quick look at this box. So you do get a really cool box for this SH Shfiguarts Trunks. We got a really cool pose right there with Super Saiyan Rage Trunks doing the Gallic Gun. We got the figure right there displayed really cool in that window. It says Trunks right there. Stuff right here that I can't read, but I'm sure that this English part right there where it says designed by Tamashii Nations is the actual translation. Here's a symbol right there. I actually am, oh, that must be the website where they had the exclusive. That's my theory on that. Dragon Ball Super, Tamashii Nations, Bandai. You're not even seeing it. Dragon Ball Super, Tamashii Nations, Bandai. We got some artwork right there. That is a continuation of the artwork we saw at the front of the box. Here's the back of the box where we got some more cool images of Trunks right there. There's that artwork that we saw at the front of the box, and as you see, there's the stuff right there that no one wants to read. Here's the side of the box. Here's the top of the box, and here is the bottom of the box where we got some more artwork that we saw already on the back of the box. Anyway, guys, without further ado, let's actually open up this figure and take a good look at this thing. Alright, taking a closer detailed look at this Trunks, and I gotta say that this is the absolute best the absolute best Trunks figure that Tamashii Nations has ever made. Now, I know I'm like talking in like a voice that makes me sound really happy, but that's just because it's the YouTube persona. But in all honesty, I'm actually really disappointed with a couple of things on this Trunks, but it actually has nothing to do with the way that the figure is aesthetically, nothing to do with any of the articulation. It just has to do with some of the accessories. But overall, this really is like one of the absolute best Trunks figure that we have had so far as of December of 2018. Now, the thing I want to get into, we'll get into a little bit later. I gotta say that the hair on this thing is sculpted really nicely. They could have just gone the lazy route and then, you know, did what they did with this Trunks right here and just not really sculpted anything. But they went out of their way in order to put out some like hairs on the top. And honestly, I really like the attention to detail that they did with the character sheets and actually put that hair in there. That is awesome. Now, honestly, I know a lot of people like have a little bit of issues with the fact that, you know, Trunks in Dragon Ball Super has blue hair, but I mean, you know, if you don't want to have your figure displayed like that, you actually still have that option to take this Trunks head and put it on this body, which I will show you guys later when we're going through the head swapping. But yeah, so a little bit more detail we have right here is with the bandana, and they just sculpted that really well. They have lines sculpted throughout the entire thing. Just a little bit of a lackluster part of the figure is that there is not a lot of paint shading really. The only place that they have paint shading is right here on the pants, but not really any on the jacket. Doesn't really bother me too much. At least at this point, we're used to the figures not having a lot of paint shading. But yeah, so going through, I'm pretty sure these are the same pants as the one on this. This is not the pants that came on the Time Patroller Trunks, but these are the ones that came on the Time Patroller figure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have. Yeah, they actually did change up the sculpt on it a little bit, but overall, you can see that they took a lot of the base thing the same from there. I guess they actually went out of their way to sculpt different wrinkles out of that, so that's a big plus right there. Then over here, we actually got some really nice sculpted boots, which are not the same sculpt as the ones on the Time Patroller figure. Yeah, the detail on this is really cool. Oh, and I love that rip that they have right there, the pants. Everything on there is just like really cool. Like that rip is just awesome. So yeah, in terms of the detail and like everything on here, this Trunks is definitely top of its tier. One thing that is weird though that I know a lot of people have been talking about is the actual legs right here. They're not aesthetically going in to the the stomach area right here. And, you know, I think what they could have done in order to kind of prevent that, even though it's not that big of an issue, but what they could have done to prevent that was maybe make his like chest area a little bit bigger, or maybe that would have looked a little bit too weird. Who knows? But yeah, that is something to take note of when wanting to purchase these figures. If this is going to bother you to the point where you don't want to get it, I don't know. I've never really seen anyone that is so overly sensitive to details to not go and buy a figure. This is technically the best Trunks figure from Dragon Ball Super that we have gotten. It definitely is, without question. Definitely better than all the Dragon Stars ones. But yeah, that's all we got with the details of the Trunks. Let's go ahead and take a look at the accessories. Moving on to the accessories, we get a lot of stuff included with this Trunks. Now, one of the things that we got right here is a pair of fists, which come off the figure in the packaging that every single figure with interchangeable hands should come with. We get a pair of Gallic gun hands. One of them has a peg in there that you actually have this effect right here. You take that and then you peg it into the hand, which is kind of hard to do sometimes, but you know, you can do it, and they did a very good job on these hands. This is a really good idea to put them in there, but you know, there is a small little thing about this thing that I definitely want to get into later. Now we also get a couple of open palm blast hands, which definitely a necessity whenever Trunks is going to be firing a Gallic gun. Honestly, he's like, any Trunks figure needs this, whether he's doing the burning attack, the Gallic gun, those kinds of things. Then we also get a pair of gripping hands, which you use in order to get him to hold his sword. Which, honestly, I do like the way that they have the gripping hands. It just makes it really hard that with these parts here, like the thumb and the index finger connecting, becoming the same mold, it makes it really hard to like insert the sword into his hands quite often. I would have liked it if they would have used the actual hands that came with the Time Patroller figure, the one that he used to hold onto the scroll, and that would have helped out. I feel like those would be better, which they actually are interchangeable with the Trunks themselves. So if you have that, I recommend using that. And we also have a relaxed hand, which he uses in the actual box to hold on to like his broken sword. But I mean, there's really not that much use that you have for this hand, just except for to have him like hold a sword that was displayed in the box. Honestly, I feel like, if I'm gonna be totally honest, I feel like this is a wasted accessory hand. I feel like something that would have been a little bit better that they included was maybe another one of these hands, but one that isn't sculpted to be going in like one direction. Now this one is sculpted regularly, so it's like it fits in there properly, but the way you have to fit this one in there is because of the way that they sculpted it. You can't exactly get this hand to like go out like that. It's always going to be going like this, because you need to have it like that in order for him to properly be doing the Gallic gun. So over that relaxed hand, I would have preferred it if they given us a standard one of these, but it just goes for the right hand. And then next, right here, we're going to be going into the faces. Now, the thing that I have the most problem with on this figure in general is the faces. Let's start off right here. We have the basic smiling face, which we already took a look at on the figure, and for the base form faces, and we also have this screaming face. Now, the complaint I have is not actually the screaming face. Now, I know a lot of people have been going after the screaming face, saying that this thing looks like utter garbage and things like that. I really don't think it looks all that bad, but it does look a little bit off in certain ways. But overall, it's not really a bother to me with this actual face itself. Now, the thing that I wish they would have done was, let me ask you guys a question. When you think of Dragon Ball Super Trunks, what do you think? Do you think of him like being all happy, cheerful, and stuff like that, or do you think of him as like being depressed quite a bit, being like very angry? He's the type of angry guy who, in the Dragon Ball in the Trunks arc, he was really angry at Goku Black. Goku Black was like destroying his city. His mom died. I'm pretty sure, I feel like the smiling face is heavily misplaced on this Trunks. Like, it's sculpted really well, but I would have preferred so much more if they had a stern face. Now, it also kind of bothers me too, because this yelling face is really the only battle face that he has. Like, and this smiling face, well, I'm sorry, but like, the only other pose that I can think of that you would put Trunks in with a smiling face is that one scene at the very end of Dragon Ball Super, of the arc, where like Vegeta goes in to punch Trunks and Trunks blocks it and he has a smiling face like, yeah, Dad, I can take care of myself. You don't, like, I can block your punches, so yeah, I'm good. And then Vegeta smirked at that. I just really feel like it would have benefited them if they'd given us I would have loved this figure more if they'd given us a stern face. It's just heavily misplaced right here, and it really annoys the heck out of me with this smiling face. Now, that's not even the only issue with the faces that we have. So right here with the Super Saiyan Rage heads, faces, we got a yelling face right there, which is a pretty good Super Saiyan Rage Trunks face, and then we have a teeth gritted face, which I know some people have said that the paint around the teeth makes it look like he ate like hot Cheetos before charging up his Gallic gun, which this is actually the face that it is intended for him charging up the Gallic gun. But the main problem that I have with this is, why is it that he has to have his own limitations by having the eyes looking off to the right? I would have loved it so much more if they had given us the option to have him like looking straight. That way, the amount of posability with the Super Saiyan Rage Trunks head, when you're using the Super Saiyan Rage Trunks head, wouldn't be so limited. You already have like you only have like 2 different options with the face, where like this, and I dropped that right there, messing up the accessories. You only have a couple of options with like the yelling face right there and like the teeth gritted face. Why would you take away even more of the potential that we would have with this thing by making the eyes go looking off to the right? I feel like I'm just really disappointed by that, because especially me being a stop motion animator, I'm just really, really, really disappointed with the fact that the face on this was like looking off to the right. Now, I know a lot of other people are saying that they should have included a face where his eyes were like completely white all over the place, and I totally agree that maybe they should have done that, but honestly, I feel like that's the least of the problems with the faces on this figure. I can honestly deal with the fact that there is no whited eye face to go with this set. It's just because like most of the time when you saw Trunks in Super Saiyan Rage, yeah, the whole transformation thing was iconic, but throughout the rest of Dragon Ball Super, he lost those white Broly eyes. So I can understand why they didn't use any of those faces. Now, let's actually talk about the Super Saiyan Rage Trunks head. Now, the Trunks head in general, the Super Saiyan Rage head in general is actually sculpted pretty well. Love the way that it looks, and it's really done well. Now, going back to the complaint with the faces, well, why don't I actually just take a Trunks from a previous head and then, like the Time Patroller one, interchange the faces with that? Well, this part and even annoys me even more because I don't even have the option to do that. They introduced a new peg system on here where you can't use the same faces. You can only use the faces that come on this figure because it's the only one with the pegs in there, and that just annoys the hell out of me, man. I'm so disappointed with the fact that you can't even interchange faces from other Trunks figures. In fact, I feel like if you couldn't at least use the faces on, this one right here for like the posing options you'd want, that'd be totally fine. But man, they really messed up with the, okay, it wasn't technically a mess up, but I really wish they would have kept the sculpt of the faces that we've had on the, they would have kept the mechanical design on the faces that we had that came with the Time Patroller Trunks. That would have been so much easier for me, and honestly, I'm still really annoyed with this. That's like the one problem I have with the entire figure that I feel is like really disappointing, and it just annoys me so much. Honestly, though, that's not something that's the figure's fault, but I guess that's because of my own expectations when going into this, and it still bothers me to this day. I've had this thing for 2 weeks. Another accessory that we have right here is the sword, and if you want to get the sword into there, you gotta take off the bottom piece of the sword right there, and then you take in that hand that's right here, and then just slide it through, which is really hard to do sometimes, but yeah, that is the intention behind it, where you slide it through and then you put this piece back on to the bottom of the sword. I'm trying to get this thing pegged in back there properly. Yeah, and then another accessory that we have is the broken sword. Now, this part I really like the way that they have this sword. They actually giving us a broken sword that goes into this sheath like that. Way better idea than doing what they did with the old Time Patroller Trunks figure. Like, why didn't all the swords on all the previous Trunks just come with a broken sword? You want to know how many times Trunks has actually broken his sword throughout the entire show? He broke this thing all of the time. I'm surprised that this is the first time we've actually gotten like the sheath part be like actually have like a sculpted broken end part to it. And then yeah, we've already taken obviously it comes with the sheath so that you can take that, put the sword in there. I think I already went over this. Well, yeah, I went over it a little bit, but yeah, they did a very good job with the detail on this thing, and I actually like the design of this sheath a little bit more than all the other ones with like the green and stuff. I guess it's because green is one of my favorite colors. Now, the last thing we got here, we already taken a look at as well, is the Gallic gun effect. But yeah, pretty nice effect that we have right here with like the translucent pearlescent effect with the purple right there going on. Really nice Gallic gun effect. And I think that's pretty much it for all the accessories. Man, that was a mouthful. Well, now let's move on to the rest of the accessories. Not the rest of the accessories. Let's get on to the head swapping that you can do on this Trunks figure. I'm sorry, guys. Throughout all of my childish ranting right there, I actually completely forgot about the fact that we have the best accessory that's ever come on a Dragon Ball figure in general, the Spirit Bomb Sword, or the Sword of Hope that they go by. But I think from Dragon Ball Heroes, that's what they named this thing. Essentially, from the bottom, you take the broken sword and then you insert it right in there. And yeah, this thing holds in there fairly well. And Trunks just like you're gonna be able to recreate that one thing that he did against. Spoiler alert if you don't want to know. This came from the very end where like Trunks went in there and like merged Zamasu in two, which iconic scene, but still doesn't make sense to this very day. Now, another accessory that actually comes with this figure that I actually also almost forgot about was this stand right here, which you actually stand it up right here, and you actually like plug the sword right there so that you have a little bit more leverage with Trunks, so that he doesn't mess up his wrist articulation, so that the sword can just rest right on here. And that is a very smart thing that they did with this thing, and I'm so glad that they included this extra thing right here. Just the small problem is like the stand itself, you have to like you only can use it one way, but you know, if you want to be able to use this thing in any other way, you just got to use your own creativity in order to get the balancing posed on this right. But yeah, that is it for the accessories. Now, let's get into the next part of this video. Alright, and now for my favorite part of this video that I always like to do whenever I get a figure that we've had in the line multiple times of a character, I always like to take previous figures and do some head swapping. That's one of the fun things I like to do. So for the first head swap we got, here he is with the Time Patroller Trunks head. And if you guys really like the classic look of Trunks with the purple hair, you have this option of actually using this accessory from that old Trunks and doing on there. And it does have a little bit of a loose fit, but overall, this head just works perfectly. And if you want to use that Super Saiyan part, well, right here, you got even more reason to go pick up the Time Patroller Trunks, because, man, this fits on here like it's meant to fit on there. I don't know why the base form head fits loosely. This thing fits very securely. Not sure why, actually. But yeah, this is definitely something you should do if you want to have a standard Super Saiyan Trunks. And oh my gosh, he comes with a teeth graded face that looks straight. If only I can interchange this one with the Super Saiyan Rage Trunks figure. Oh wait. And if you want to have Trunks looking like he's coming from a more apocalyptic version of the future where he has long hair, this I actually think looks a little bit better than the initial Trunks design we had, just because of the fact that he has him with the long hair and like the ripped up clothing almost reminds me of like Trunks being in a zombie movie like The Walking Dead or something. And I just think this looks really interesting. The head itself does not actually like fit on there like at all. But if you want to make this thing fit securely, all you got to do is like take a small piece of tissue, put it like over the top of this peg, and then you got to push it in there as much as possible, and then you suddenly will have a Trunks head that fits on there very, very securely. You guys should do it, trust me. And the way that he looks with the Super Saiyan head. And now you got a Super Saiyan version of Trunks that looks like he came out of the Walking Dead show when they collabed in the fictional time with Dragon Ball. And man, I honestly really love the look on this thing with like with everything with the hair and like the ponytail and everything. Yeah, like I said, it's basically the same thing with the base form, but just with the reason why I like it, except it's Super Saiyan. So yeah, and now moving on to the next head. And now with the premium color edition of this head, it doesn't really fit. It doesn't really fit that well at all. I mean, it is a little bit sturdy with just a little bit of the ball peg going into the socket. But overall, like, I don't know why you'd want to pose him like this. He kind of looks like a giraffe, and it's like it doesn't. He actually does hold itself. Oh, there you go. Told you guys. I mean, I tried it the best I could, but it just doesn't properly fit in there. And for size comparison, here he is next to the SH Figuarts Goku Black and the SH Figuarts 2.0 Super Saiyan Vegeta. And then here he is compared to the SH Figuarts Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku and the Armored Trunks figure. And here's a little bit of an inconsistency. The Armored Trunks figure is actually a little bit taller than the Dragon Ball Super Trunks, even though the Dragon Ball Super Trunks is a much older guy in this suit. So don't know why that is, but you know, there you go. And another comparison we have right here comes with the SH Figuarts Premium Color Edition Future Trunks and the Custom 2.0 Future Trunks that came from my boy Jay Zalata Customs. Honestly, I will definitely have a review of this fairly soon. Sorry, man, I'm like still tied up with a lot of things. I will get a review of this out soon. And then another comparison we have right here comes with the SH Figuarts Awakening Goku with a custom belt and a custom Super Saiyan 2 hair from Beast Customs. Another custom I will have a review out soon so stay tuned for that. But let's keep moving on with the rest of the review. So now for the articulation, and I did remove the sword just so he can move his head around a little bit more. Because of the lower part of the neck, he actually has a lot of range of motion due to the fact that they didn't sculpt as much around there, so he actually looks up pretty darn high. He doesn't have it. You can't really use as much articulation in the ball hinge because of there's not a lot of space in there to use it, but yeah, you can make him look pretty high, and you can actually make him look fairly low because of that ball hinge actually coming into use right here. And you can get him like moving around side to side all the way around 360. That is a lot of articulation in that neck, and I think it's some of the most amount of articulation we've gotten on any SH Figuarts neck we've like ever in the Figuarts line as of right now. You can get his arms to move all the way around 360 as you should with every Figuarts. He can move his arm out almost 90 degrees. I feel like what they did was they put the limit on there a little bit too far, because you can actually see that there is a little bit of like sculpting right there for the movement. So at that point, yeah, it is a little bit disappointing, but nothing really serious or anything like that. He does have a little bit of he does have a what's that, a bicep swivel right there, double jointed elbows, which goes in fairly far, and you do have a wrist hinge right here, which is the best place to be having these kinds of ball pegs. So you move around 360, goes up and down. He does have a butterfly joint, which doesn't go out as much as you would want it to, but still a pretty decent amount. It does help him bring his arms out like together, where his hands are like crossing. Definitely a necessary thing for a guy who's holding a sword. So he does move he doesn't have an ab crunch, which moves a decent amount forward and pretty decently far back. I'm trying not to move the legs, but yeah, it is a little bit of a hindrance. Oh no, actually it's moving now because of the legs right there. So yeah, the actual like part itself, he doesn't move as much with like using both joints. But if you actually use the part right here with the legs, you can get him looking down essentially all the way. Just like it's going to be a little bit weird. Decent amount of articulation, though. It's not going to limit any posability. Now, for the legs, they do kick forward actually a lot more than I initially thought with the trunks, and you can get them to kick back practically 90 degrees. You do have an upper thigh cut right there to give them that swivel. You do have a double jointed knees, which better than most of the Figuarts knee joints today, because at least right here there's actually plastic built up in there. And now for the feet, you actually have a proper ankle pivot built into there, which you don't get enough on these Figuarts Dragon Ball figures, especially stuff like that. He does move the foot down. He doesn't actually not. It does move pretty far up forward, and you do got a toe hinge right there. So overall, with the articulation department on this trunks, I'm fairly impressed. Very good job with this thing. But anyway, moving on to the rest of the review. So I know I sound like I went pretty hard on the trunks in the mid part of the review, but Honestly, guys, overall, it is the best Trunks figure in the line as of right now. It's just really the problem I'm having with this altogether is the faces. The faces just really annoy the hell out of me, and I wish they would have done a little bit of a better job when making the faces in general. I wish they would have made the smiling face a stern face, and they would have given those teeth graded face like eyes that were looking straight. And that's really all I wish they would have done that. I would have felt like this was a practically perfect figure from the Shfiguarts line. Definitely one of their best if it wasn't for the faces. Now, I know they did something very similar back then with Goku Black, but at least with Goku Black, you can still take faces from other figures and put it in there. And actually, you can also take the stern face, which they included on the Super Saiyan Rose, and like have that custom painted from the bootleg. But you really don't have any of those kinds of options like you do with his Trunks, and I guess that's why I feel so annoyed about it. But honestly, overall, I definitely recommend you guys go pick up this Trunks. And if I gotta rank this figure on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll definitely give it an A+, like a 9 out of 10. Overall, really enjoy this figure, other than the annoyances I have, and I highly recommend it for any of you guys that want to go pick up a good Trunks figure. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. This has been Starblast Studios, and I'll talk to you guys soon in the comment sections down below. Until then.